Can we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Arata, absent. Commissioner Bajaj,
Present.
Commissioner Funabashi,
Present.
Commissioner Nafisi, absent. Commissioner Beely,
Present.
Commissioner Sao,
Present.
Chair Simpson.
I am here. Can we, I guess, salute the flag? Commissioner Tso, would you lead us in the pledge?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any blue folder items?
First, we'll approve the order of agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped over that. Can we have a motion to approve? the
I'll make a
order of agenda?
motion to approve the agenda as
Is there a
presented.
second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, got that?
Great.
I guess we'll just do a vote vote on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Order of the agenda is approved. Now, I was a little too eager, but let's get to the blue
On that.
folder materials. Are there any?
We do not have any blue folder items at this time.
Okay.
And just for the record, we have Commissioner Arata arriving at 7:01.
Okay, so now we have the consent calendar, which includes approving the affidavit of posting and approving the Public Works and Sustainability Commission meeting minutes for July 22nd. Is anybody interested in pulling any of those out and discussing them, or we act on the consent calendar? Is there any public comment on the consent calendar? Okay, seeing none. Do we need to do this on a record vote or on a voice?
We can do consent on a voice vote.
I'm sorry?
We
I'll
can
make a
put it-
motion to approve the consent calendar.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. Commissioner Arata,
Aye.
Commissioner Bajaj,
Aye.
Commissioner Funabashi,
Aye.
Commissioner Beely,
Aye.
Commissioner Sao,
Aye.
Chair Simpson.
Aye. Okay, now it's time on public participation on non-agenda items. That's when any member of the public can address the commission about things that they're interested in and want to talk about. But if it's about something that is on the agenda, we'll save the comments for then. Do we have any public participation for non-agenda items? I think we do.
We do, actually. I'll give the floor to Deputy Public Works Director Mike Klein.
Good evening, Commission members. My name's Mike Klein. I'm the Deputy Public Works Director for Operations. You don't see me quite a bit. We normally don't attend the commission meetings. We'd like to a little bit more, maybe down the road. But tonight we're going to be introducing our new manager for Parks Management and Parks and Public Places. I'm stumbling a little bit nervous here. Sorry about that. Mark Garlick is our new manager for Parks Maintenance. He is also, we picked him up from the city of Oceanside. This was in a competitive recruitment. We had several members that came in, and Mark stood out among the rest. We did have some internal candidates that came through on this one, but Mark has some background that I'd like to have him step up when you. Oh, there. I'm sorry, Mark. Scared me there. Mark came to us. He can expand a little bit more on his background. 20 years down at Oceanside, moved up here. That's a huge commitment in my book. To move back up to the LA area. Likes this area quite a bit. So I'll turn it over to him. He can give you a little bit of a background. And if you have any questions for me later on, be more than happy to answer.
Good evening, Commissioners. Mark Garlock, Parks and Urban Forestry Manager here with the City of Redondo Beach. My current role here with the city is to oversee the city's urban forest, parks, streetscapes, and parkways. A little bit about me. Spent 20 years with the City of Oceanside. Started out there in the Parks Department as an irrigation tech, worked my way up through the organization before leaving Oceanside, coming to Redondo Beach. I oversaw the day-to-day operations of 57 parks. 57 streetscapes, 42 parks, 48,000 trees, 4 miles of public beach, and a municipal pier. And one of my roles here with the city of Redondo Beach is to assist with sustainability and native plantings.
Welcome. Welcome. Any questions
Thank
or
you.
comments? Okay,
All right.
good
Thank you
to
very
have you
much.
aboard.
Thank you.
I guess it's now time to move on to item J1, discussion and possible action regarding the installation of speed cushions along the 700, 800 block of North Paulina Avenue. We have a presentation on that, I expect.
All right, good evening, Public Works and Sustainability Commission, Brian Luce, City Traffic Engineer. The first item before you tonight are proposed speed cushions on the 700 to 800 block of North Paulina. A bit of an overview of the street itself. This block of Paulina is about 1,350 feet in length, quarter mile. The extents of the study are to the northwest at Anita and Paulina, and at the southeast at Barrow and Paulina. The street runs roughly northwest to southeast, and there are stop signs at either end of the block. So there aren't any other traffic control devices or devices to slow drivers down in that quarter mile stretch. So typical with the city's process, we received a request for traffic calming and speed cushions the first time in December 2023, the second time from another resident unrelated in February 2024. After getting consent from both residents, we decided to have them meet together and collect the signatures themselves together. We first did an initial investigation on whether the street qualifies for speed cushions from a slope alignment and classification perspective per the city's policy. The street meets it. It's not too steep. It is a local residential street. And the horizontal alignment, there aren't any unusual curves in the street that would prevent speed cushions from being installed here. Per the City Council's policy, it requires 2/3 of the block to sign a petition form. So out of the 59 dwelling units, residences on the block, we received signatures from 41 of them, which passed the threshold. Although not required by the petition policy, the city did check the signatures against our ownership database, and we did reach 2/3 of the signatures that were verified by city records, or a utility bill was provided to the city that matches signature, name, and address. Because we received the 2/3 threshold, staff moved forward to the engineering study. The city's policy requires that a speed and volume study be performed on this block. The thresholds are that the 85th percentile speed has to be at least 32 miles per hour and no more than 3,000 vehicles per day in both directions. As mentioned before, the other criteria to install speed cushions were met. Over here on this slide shows the results of that speed and volume study. Due to the length of the block, we've collected data in 2 different locations on the block, approximately at the 1/3 and 2/3 section of the block, so 722 and 809. These monitoring devices were placed into the street and recorded the speed of the cars and the number of cars each day. So we collected data for 24/7 for 1 week. As you can see here, the total daily traffic on the street is about 580 vehicles, which is less than the upper limit for the volume. And the speed we recorded about 33 to 34 miles per hour. That's the 85th percentile speed. So that's about 2 miles per hour over the minimum threshold. So based on that, city staff is recommending the installation of speed cushions on the street. We are recommending the installation of 3 sets of speed cushions. This would provide approximately 330 to 350 feet of spacing between either a stop sign or a speed cushion. So the block will be broken up into four sections. The spacing would be similar to recently installed speed cushions on Lucia, Juanita, and Irina in the same neighborhood. These speed cushions are prefabricated rubber materials with bypass slots for emergency vehicles like ambulances. Signage and other striping would be installed similar to other recent installations in the city. We don't expect any street parking to be removed. Those numbers below show the addresses in which we propose the speed cushions and are better seen on this map right here. So you can see at the northwest corner at Anita, once you go 330 feet in, the first speed cushion at these addresses, second set, third set, and then you reach Barrel. So that concludes the presentation for this item, and the available alternatives is to recommend staff advance consideration of speed cushions along this block to the City Council for final approval, or any other recommendation from the commission. Happy to answer any questions.
Want to have any questions? Well, I think the presentation was quite clear. Thank you for that. I guess there might be some public comment.
I do have some questions.
Oh, you do? I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
Do the people know where, where you're going to put the speed cushions? Are the homeowners aware? Have they been notified?
Yes, so once we received all the speed data and determined the recommended locations, in our noticing for this item, it was mailed to all people who lived on the block, as well as all the property owners, if those property owner addresses were somewhere outside of this block. And in that letter, we did note these exact locations.
Okay. And then many moons ago, I had worked on putting speed bumps on the 500 and 600 block of Paulina, and the commission was not in favor of it. So my question for you is, because what happens is the traffic comes off of 190th, comes down the 700, 800 block, goes to the 600. It's usually people traveling to the schools, right? And so knowing that we're going to put those speed bumps there, we're probably going to redirect traffic in a different way. So have you guys thought about just all along Paulina doing some general traffic mitigation? Or do you guys just want to address it block by block? What's your sense on that?
I think the way the City Council speed cushion policy is set up is because the residents have to collect the signatures themselves. This block has 59 addresses. That's why we've been treating it block by block. Otherwise, if we start expanding that study area to other blocks, then those residents may not have the capacity or time to, or knowledge of their neighbors to get those signatures. For the 500 and 600 block, I think if that process wants to be started up again, then that can be treated as a separate block.
Okay. That's all my questions.
Okay, any other questions? I do expect we have some public comment.
We do. The first person is Bill Mona.
Commissioners, members of the PWSC. My name is Bill Mona, M-O-N-A, and I live at 706 North Paulina Avenue in Redondo Beach. I have resided at that address for the past 54 years. Over the years, I have witnessed a great deal of change in our city, most of all good. I'm here tonight to speak for me and the residents of Paulina Avenue. I have taken pictures of Paulina Avenue showing the sign that says no left turn on Paulina from 6:30 to 9 a.m. heading west on 190th Street. Also painted on the street is a 25-mile-an-hour painting on the street itself. Between those hours, Paulina has become an international speedway. It's a straight shot from 190th to Burrell Street, and cars come speeding. The residents living on Paulina and their children are walking to Burrell School, which is 1 block away. They don't turn on Lucia because it's too hilly and can't go fast to Burrell. And Maria is blocked off with barricades so they can't turn left on that. So you see, Paulina becomes the speedway. On behalf of us residents who live on Paulina, please install the speed cushions for the safety of the children walking to school and the residents' safety. In a little footnote, I volunteered 33 years as a Redondo Beach Police Reserve officer, and I retired and spent the next 10 years as a background investigator for the Redondo Beach Police Department recruiting recruits for police officer. So you see, I have served our city for many years. As noted in your letter, the city, they have speed cushions already on the 800 block of Juanita and Irina. Please vote yes on passing these proposed speed cushions on Paulina Avenue between 190th and Burl. I have pictures I'd like to give to you so you can see what is going on.
I'll make a motion to receive and file.
You want to
Mr.
see
Zai-
them or no?
I'll second that.
We need to. Do we have a motion to, do we have the motion?
Yeah.
Second, all in
Thank you.
favor?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are these two sets or? There are two sets?
Yeah, they can keep them. I don't need them.
Okay. I'm gonna scan them and upload it to this, if you want to look at it now. You can take a look at any of them.
Okay.
All right, and we have Julie McGauley next.
Hi, I did not prepare a speech or anything, but I could not have said it better than he did. I'm 43 years old and I grew up on Paulina, 809 Paulina Avenue. And back in the day, it was really peaceful, really peaceful. And just like he said, it's now a speedway. And I'm so glad that this has come to fruition because I wanted to do something a few years ago because it just freaks me out. Like every day, just. And I'm just so glad that this is happening and this is a possibility for our street to be a little bit more peaceful. I heard that Prospect, so there's Prospect one block up from Paulina, and most people used to take that. But now they take Paulina because they don't have to do the stop, like the stoplights and stuff. So they just take Paulina and just like, and I'm just scared for our children, our pets, our safety, and just everything. I just feel like people are disrespecting our street. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have Mitch Baird.
Should I hand these?
You can do a receive and,
I'll make a motion to receive and file.
I need a second. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
So what's being passed out is a report that I'm pulling most of my statistics from. But I have a very short summary. So we'll spare the page by page. Name's Mitch Baird. I live at 709 Paulina. And I have 3 small grandchildren and another one on the way, and I have small pets. And just concerned, and I'm kind of at the downside of the hill towards Burl. And so there's kind of a blind hill, and I've had witnessed a couple of bad rear enders as somebody comes flying over. So this is all prompted by that. And I'm sure you're aware of the CBS News report on 8/9/24, where LAUSD has installed 250 speed cushions around their schools, in 92 specifically in direct response to pedestrian deaths. The American Journal, which is the report coming around with you, is American Journal of Public Health in 2004 did a matched case control study evaluating the effectiveness of speed humps in reducing child pedestrian injuries. The objective was to evaluate the protective effectiveness of speed humps in reducing child pedestrian injuries in residential neighborhoods. And they did this over a 5-year period, checking out children in pediatric emergency departments after being struck by an automobile. The conclusions, which are in there, speed humps were associated with a 53% to 60% reduction in the odds of injury or death among children struck by an automobile in their neighborhood. It makes children's living environment safer. Pedestrian injuries caused by automobile collisions are a leading cause of death among children aged 5 to 14. And boys are the biggest part of that, as you can imagine. Speed humps contribute to providing long-term safety for pedestrians, motorists, because they are physical structures with designs that are self-enforcing rather than requiring police enforcement at a much greater expense than purchasing the speed humps. Speed humps bring traffic down to about 15 miles per hour versus bumps, which is like in the Costco parking lot or whatever, which is 3 or 4. But the speed humps are much more gradual, and therefore car suspensions are not as much at risk if somebody catches one by surprise. So while I gratefully and thankfully look forward to having the speed bumps installed on our street to reduce the risk to children and walking to Borough Heights, and given the statistics shown in this study above and the move by LAUSD, I think it's really the prudent thing to do for our kids. And personally, like LAUSD did it for all their schools, it'd sure be great if Redondo took on the same kind of approach, more of a proactive. But anyway, appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that's all the speaker cards that I have for this item. So if
Okay.
anyone else from the audience wants to speak?
Does anyone else care to speak on the issue? Doesn't
And
appear to be the case. Do we have any online or?
We have no one online that would like to speak. And we have one e-comment that is in support of the speed cushions.
Okay.
I came in just now. Is this about the speed bumps on Paulina?
Yes.
Yes, that's right. Did you want to speak?
Yes, yes. So I don't know what happened before.
Yeah, so,
So I just
Okay,
came
please state
in.
your name.
But I live in the middle of the block.
like your name, please?
Frank Vakis.
Uh-huh.
I live in the middle of the block and 724 North Paulina. And in the morning, people go so fast down that street. I think the results of the the electrical testing of the speed determined that people are above. And it's very dangerous. I'm kind of in a blind, I'm kind of like on the hill, so I can't see cars coming up. And many times I have always thought somebody's going to hit me pulling out of the driveway. We have 2 grandchildren. There are probably maybe a dozen grandchildren that live on the block. And when we're walking our kids, you got to hold their hand tight because we always worry, especially in the morning when everybody's going to Redondo High. So we are hoping that what has been done for the 2 streets below us is done for our street, because that is the other problem. When speed bumps were put in for the 2 streets below Paulina, guess where everybody went? They all went up Paulina. So we ended up bearing the brunt of the goodness for those streets. So I think that's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? Discussion? Yes.
I just think you make a motion, let's get them some cushions, 700, 800 block of North Paulina. Make a motion,
Following the administrative report, the recommendation.
correct?
Right. Yeah,
I second that.
okay. Roll vote, please.
Sounds good. Commissioner Arata?
Aye.
Commissioner Bajaj?
Yes.
Commissioner Funabashi?
Aye.
Commissioner Nafisi?
Absolutely.
Commissioner Beely?
Aye.
Commissioner Sal?
Aye.
Chair Simpson?
Yes, in favor of it.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess the recommendation will go to the city council that they be installed. Righty here. And we're at J2, which
Thank you.
is discussion of marked and enhanced crosswalk at Barrel Street and Guadalupe Avenue.
So here's an overview of the location. I'll provide some reasons on the background of the request first. So here's Beryl Street, sort of rotated from a normal map. Towards the left is PCH, about 350 feet to the west, Irina, 450 feet to the east. Those are the closest controlled crossings. So at Irina, there's an always stop with a crosswalk there, and at PCH, there's a signal also with a crosswalk. At the Guadalupe intersection, there's only stop signs on the Guadalupe approaches, but not on the Beryl approaches. There are crosswalks and ramps to make all 4 crossings, but no marked crosswalks across Guadalupe. These 2 yellow circles here show the ramps, the ramp locations. This intersection happens to have ramps in all directions here. Some of the prior analysis that was done, back in 2022, a resident requested an always stop at this location. At the time, it did not meet any of the city's policy thresholds. We suspect that, if that analysis were run again today, it would still not meet those always stop thresholds. One of the big reasons is that Beryl is much busier, wider, and is a higher functional classification than Guadalupe. Guadalupe being smaller, not as busy, narrower, local residential street, where Beryl is more like a collector. If we put additional stop signs on Beryl, we expect that it would result in additional frustration, perhaps poor compliance with the stop signs. The resident came to us asking for, either an always stop or improved pedestrian safety mainly for pedestrians crossing at this location. So we believe that pedestrian safety can be improved without adding more stop signs in this location. We also talked to Councilmember Lowenstein, the council member for District 2, and he supported studying a crosswalk at this location. So some additional information is that legal crosswalks already exist at this intersection. Anytime there's an intersection in the state of California, there is a legal crosswalk there. It doesn't necessarily mean
It's
that.
not marked, right?
Yeah, legal and unmarked crosswalks.
Right.
So it does, an unmarked crosswalk means the driver is required to yield, but oftentimes that is not the case at an unmarked crosswalk like here. So, marked crosswalks with enhancements would improve yielding and safety and also offer traffic calming. The Federal Highway Administration has a guide for improving pedestrian safety at uncontrolled crossing locations, depending on the street's width, the volumes, the speeds. There's a variety of treatments that can be provided to improve crossing safety. For example, a street like PCH, it would not be appropriate, may not be as appropriate to just stripe crosswalks without any additional features, since PCH is wide and much busier. So for Beryl Street being a collector with a speed limit about 30 miles per hour, and with the volumes it does, it's a bit of a higher volume street. Some of the recommendations include, putting in high visibility crosswalk markings, perhaps a raised crosswalk, in-street signage, curb extensions, refuge islands, flashing lights, or even a traffic signal. Doesn't necessarily mean that all of those treatments have to be at the intersection, but at a minimum, they should be considered. This sketch shows staff's proposed design for the crosswalk. As you can see here, high visibility crosswalk markings, yield markings, a pedestrian refuge island, and a curb extension. I'll go into more detail about the curb extension and the refuge island in the next slide. But as you can see here, these yield markings show that drivers have to yield. We put those markings well in advance of the crosswalk for improved visibility. And these are the typical crosswalk signs that go at a crosswalk like this. Some of the benefits of these 2 enhanced treatments, the median refuge island, is that it reduces the crossing distance and the exposure of pedestrians within the intersection. Sometimes pedestrians don't feel very safe, crossing a big wide road, but if there's a space for them to wait in the middle, that can help improve the safety, and it's one of the recommended treatments in the FHWA guide. It also offers traffic calming benefits so that drivers slow down. It enhances the visibility and safety of the crosswalks so that drivers and pedestrians can better make eye contact with each other, so that pedestrians can just cross one direction at a time. They can wait in the middle if necessary and then focus on the opposing direction of traffic. We're proposing a modular type of median refuge island and curb extension here. There are manufacturers out there, and I have examples on the next slide that show that these things can be installed at pretty low cost without having to dig up the street or redo all the curb and gutter. One of the downsides of this median island is that it is removing the space for left turns from Beryl. But what we found from our observations and spending time out there is that the left turn volumes from Beryl are not very high. left turns can be made from the through lane. There's generally, not very heavy volumes, especially due to the signal at PCH, which kind of the volumes come and go in waves. So there are generally enough gaps for left turns to cross into Guadalupe without having to wait too long. That left turning traffic can also enter this left turn space here in the middle. They can be, partially within that space here and be most of the way out of the through traffic. So if someone making a left turn has to wait and there is someone behind them, it's not a very likely scenario. Someone behind them going through can still go around them pretty easily. The other consideration is that left turns from Guadalupe have to make those turns directly into the through lane. Which can be considered a traffic calming benefit, but ultimately this space here provides increased safety for pedestrians. It's something a little bit that's a bit newer to the city, but we believe that these features can help improve the safety and make it more comfortable for pedestrians to cross. The next treatment here is this curb extension, also a modular piece. The median refuge island and the curb extension don't necessarily have to go together. I would say that the refuge island is probably the more important of the two devices here. But the reason why we're proposing this curb extension here is to allow pedestrians, if they, a little bit of a buffer zone here so that they can wait and be more visible to the drivers coming down the street. It also allows us to extend the signage a little bit into the street so the signage is more visible. And per Assembly Bill 413, which was discussed with the commission back in April, the 20 feet no parking in front of a crosswalk, that actually shortens to 15 feet if we can provide a curb extension here. And in this case specifically, we can preserve 2 parking spaces on that north side of Barrel if that curb extension is there. If there's no curb extension, then we would have to red curb 20 feet, which would result in the loss of a parking spot. With that curb extension also means that we would need to reduce this red curb at 607 Barrel by 3 feet. There's currently, the slope of that driveway plus 3 feet is painted red. If we want to preserve those 2 spaces with the curb extension, we would need to reduce this red curb by approximately 3 feet. We believe that probably doesn't cause too much of an issue because drivers exiting that driveway are typically looking to the left and not to the right. So that would be the requirements to preserve those 2 spaces there. Here are some example photos of curb extensions. Some of these are in this area. All these examples are on multi-lane streets, but the theme still applies where you have a space in the middle to wait. We expect that if this is recommended by the commission, the island would look a little bit more like something on this northeast corner picture. This is actually Hollywood Boulevard in Los Feliz. And you can see here that these modular sections are put in the middle with the appropriate signage and crosswalk markings. Here's a schematic of these same treatments. And so they blend in pretty well with the environment. Once funds allow and engineering analysis such as drainage is performed, these treatments can be replaced with more permanent structures like a full curb and gutter, median treatments and or curb extension. And as you can see here, the benefits of providing that curb extension increase visibility between the pedestrians and the drivers. So the available alternatives is to recommend staff implement these a marked and enhanced crosswalk at Barrel and Guadalupe with the median and or curb extension and a 3-foot red curb reduction at 601 Barrel driveway or any other recommendation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Commissioner Bajaj.
Yeah, thank you for this, Ryan. You said that the original request was for a stop sign as well. There is a process for a petition as well that would bypass an engineering study for a stop sign. Was that option given for this scenario to kind of rehash it out through a petition process?
Because this was recently studied in 2022 and it didn't meet the petition threshold at that time, nor the engineering analysis. So that's why, we didn't proceed further. And after talking to the council member, we decided not to restart that process just 2 years later. The general concern was actually about pedestrian safety. And I think for a lot of residents in the city, when they come to us with pedestrian safety concerns, the first treatment they think of is a stop sign because we have so many of those. And so we presented an alternative of putting in this upgraded crosswalk, and they seemed in favor of wanting to, at least study it and try it out. And so I think, we're recommending this crosswalk because, these types of materials are easily found and easy to install. If it doesn't work and we need to try something else, these can be taken out pretty easily.
So this is a temporary material?
It doesn't necessarily have to be temporary. It looks pretty permanent from these photos, but once the funds and the analysis allows, we can replace it with a full height median. I would characterize it as quick build rather than temporary.
Okay. Other questions from anyone?
Yeah, I have one more.
Go ahead.
Is there an option to enhance what you've provided with like a flashing yellow,
RRFB?
LED flashing RRFB, or, like what you have on Flagler by Dominguez Park?
Yeah, that's something that we thought about, but we're a little bit concerned about the flashing lights in proximity to people's homes. We've received, complaints in the past about flashing stop signs, and these rectangular flashing beacons tend to have a bit of a quicker strobe effect. So, we can certainly, explore that further, but we're a little hesitant to install that in a place where there's homes very close by. It could be added, it could be added in the future if it's deemed necessary as well. So, recommending this to be installed doesn't preclude rapid flashing beacons from being installed in the future.
Other questions?
Do you know, like, what, from your observations, how many pedestrians you're seeing there? What sort of age range? Are they school-age children and so forth? And the reason I'm concerned is because, like, in Los Angeles, we're moving away, in the city of Los Angeles, we're moving away from all uncontrolled marked crosswalks. So, we're kind of proactively going out there and converting everything either to a stop sign or enhancing it with a flashing device or doing something in addition. So, I guess that's where my specific concerns are.
Yeah, we don't have specific traffic counts at this location. We've only, about the complaints from the residents, and they mention, there are some school-age children that try to cross here, but we don't have any hard data at this intersection. I think one of the potentials is that some people might not feel comfortable crossing here, and installing something that feels a little bit safer might encourage more crossings at this location.
The reflective pylons the pillars is going to be similar to that one in the top right?
We're considering.
I've seen different versions of this, and some work and some don't.
Yeah, so I think the one that we're considering right now is going to be, probably the diameter is going to be a little bit more like the one at the lower right, and shorter, but mounted on the top of this. I think some of the feedback we've heard from past installations of things of this type is that they start looking like birthday cakes, when you put a lot of signs on and features on it. So we're trying to, make sure it's visible. So I think at a minimum, it will have this this yellow diamond sign in the middle of the median that will be reflective, and probably about this height and this diameter mounted on the top on all corners. So it should have adequate visibility, along with all the other crosswalk signage that we intend to place in the middle of the street as well.
Yes.
I just want to say thank you for this. Beryl is a high-traveled street, and I always see, as I frequent it a lot, I always see people just like darting across Beryl, like it's wild. Nobody ever uses the crosswalks. There's only a handful of crosswalks on Beryl. So thank you for increasing the pedestrian access. I think it'll be really helpful. Or making a recommendation to, at least.
We have people who would like to speak. Andy Anderson first.
Commissioner Arata had.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Oh, no,
sorry.
It's okay. I can go off.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. My thoughts are we, since you said it's not that expensive to install something like that, I was just wondering like what the cost would be, and then perhaps, excuse me, install something like this on a temporary basis in order for you to collect the data, sorry, in order for you to collect the data so we can actually make a decision if this is something that we'd want to, permanently install?
The cost of one of these, I think we got a quote, it's about $10,000. So with the additional labor and striping costs, probably no more than $15,000 to purchase the materials and install this. I think we would like to avoid, installing something and with the intent of taking it out later, as, there can be some concern from the community when we install a nice new crosswalk and then take it out.
Have these modular mediums been installed anywhere else in the city?
Not in Redondo Beach, but it's basically the same material and installation style as our speed cushions. So these are prefabricated panels that screw into the street. But this example right here is in City of LA.
Really? Yeah, okay. Public comment?
Yes, we've got Andy Anderson first.
Good evening. I live on the corner of Guadalupe and Burl. You showed my house. You had my house up there. I've lived there for 16 years, and I'm in big favor of a crosswalk. There is a reason for that on both sides, but the medium, he's incorrect on the left-hand turning. There's at least 50 houses on Guadalupe that people make left-hand turns, and then there's the next block over, there's a whole lot of houses, and you can't block, you should not block the center aisle purely just for ambulance, firemen, and police officers in pursuit up Burl, because they go up the street all the day. You can't have a center divider like that. I'm in favor of the crosswalk. I'm in favor of a stop sign there, but you can't impede you can't have a blockage of left-hand turn, and you should not have a blockage of Burl, because the post office and other people have to go up there. And then like the gentleman said, it's not a four-way stop. It's the only place that there's not a stop sign from the top of the hill all the way to the ocean. The only place. So if you want to put a stop sign, that might be cool. You got too many stop signs down past PCH on those streets that don't need it, but you could put one there on Burl Street. That might, on Guadalupe, on Guadalupe Street. First time I've ever stood up in front of you gentlemen, but I felt like I needed to come here and say, do not put a center divider or an island out there in the middle of Burl. If you want to do that on PCH. You got a crosswalk going across PCH, which I use all the time, and I wait and I dart across that dart. There's 2 lanes on both sides. If you need an island, in Santa Barbara, they have these you push a button and it puts these little blinky lights out there. They should do that on PCH right now. But on Burl, maybe, but I think if you just mark it, I see at least 90% of the people stop for anybody walking through. It's the little kids that I worry about. And when I'm out there working on my car, you showed my house, I'm often there working. So I'll get out and I'll walk the kid, I don't understand why they don't go across the crosswalk farther up, because they come from Burl Street School and they come all the way down there and then they go across. And I know that it's hard to see little children, but putting a center divider out there will really cause a lot of problems for everybody in the city. I see it as being a deficit, but a crosswalk, it would be a positive. If not, there's no crosswalk, because like somebody said it, that it's a wild, wild west out there. You got e-bikes coming down the sidewalks. You got coming down the wrong side. You got to watch every time you walk outside your front door. You get ran over anymore out there. Redondo Beach is a beautiful place, but we got a lot of growth and a lot of cars coming around, and we got to be careful. And I think for the most part, everybody is. It's the tourists that come here sometimes are lost or on their cell phone. Anyways, thanks, just had to say that. This guy's all right, though. He's just young.
All right, we have Rex Fragberg.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Yeah. My name is Rex Freiberger, and I'm a resident, actually, right at Barrel in Guadalupe. New resident. I actually contacted Ryan Liu and Todd Lowenstein because I'm right there on the edge, and I noticed that there's stop signs all the way up Barrel, and I see people barreling down the street, and it's very difficult to cross. They don't really necessarily stop. The visibility is low when you're crossing the street. and it is high traffic. So you have low visibility and you have high traffic. So it's very unsafe, right? Obviously, you know, they did a study in 2022. So there is no stop sign. You know, that was during the pandemic or right afterwards. He says, you know, maybe we shouldn't do another one. We won't necessarily get the, you know, the metrics. You know, my first instinct was to put a stop sign there because I just you know, living there, seeing everyone have trouble crossing, and myself almost getting hit by cars. I thought that was the prudent thing to do. I definitely, you know, would urge you guys to look into, at least for now, a crosswalk of some sorts. I wasn't aware of the issue in the median this gentleman raised. I don't necessarily see it, you know, align with that, but I do think it would actually be a benefit for the area. And I just wanted to also thank, is it Mr. Liu here? You know, I want to appreciate, you know, I contacted you guys last month, so it's like a record time in government action here, at least initial action. So I appreciate that. But thank you for your time, and hopefully it works something out. Thank you.
That's all the cards we have. And there's no one on Zoom that would like to speak.
Any other public comment?
Hi, my name is Michael Wilson. I live at 705 North Guadalupe, like 3 houses up or two houses up from the intersection. And I cannot tell you the number of times I have heard squealing tires, brakes, horns blaring at cars that are trying to cross that intersection. I've witnessed a car almost flip over because it got T-boned. Many times, the police do not respond to these accidents, so it's never going to show up in any sort of data that you look at with the incidents with the police station. So these all go unreported. So these are all things that nobody really knows about except for the people that were involved in the accidents. There is a stop sign on every single intersection from Prospect to Catalina, except for this one. And I don't know why all those intersections met that threshold and this one doesn't. I mean, they added stop signs on from PCH to Catalina, every single intersection. Yeah. And I find it hard to believe that every single one of those intersections met the threshold, and for some reason, Guadalupe doesn't. Yeah. So I'm very curious about that. And there are so many people that cut through in the morning, taking their kids to school, that come off of PCH, and they are late getting their kids, and they are flying through these neighborhoods. So the amount of traffic between people going up Guadalupe, speeding to take their kids to school in the morning, to people who are coming down Barrel towards the PCH, when the light is green, they are all speeding to catch that light. So the speed that they are going is far above the speed limit, and it is constant. Like I was saying, when you go to cross the street, it's like a game of Frogger. There can be a car at the stop sign on the next street up, and I barely make it across with my dog because cars are going so fast coming down there, and they do not slow down. So, I mean, I'm glad that you're talking about putting in a crosswalk. Maybe a solution for his problem would be moving the island to the other side, the main.
I don't want an island at all.
But it would prevent, you're talking about turning left on it.
I don't think there's a crosswalk, but no island. That island would be death to a lot of cars, and it would cause more trouble than it's worth.
The crosswalk would be great, but a stop sign would be better, because I'm telling you, someone is going to be seriously hurt at that intersection. When you are on Guadalupe and you are behind the crosswalk waiting, if there's a car parked there on the left, you cannot see oncoming traffic coming down. And on the right, there's a giant hedge. So if I'm back, I can't see traffic coming from either direction. I literally have to pull into the crosswalk and almost out into traffic before I can clearly see what's coming. And like I said, people are traveling so fast down that street, it's incredibly dangerous. So although this would be nice to have a crosswalk, I'm telling you, it has to have a stop sign, or someone is going to be seriously hurt or injured at that intersection.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Further discussion? discussion, but yeah.
I was gonna say, I tend to agree a lot with the members of the public. Like I said, professionally, you know, in our professional practice, specifically with what I do, we are moving away from the trend of uncontrolled marked crosswalks. So there's, you know, something that I don't think I would feel comfortable voting for. So I would concur that I think we either go look at a stop sign again or provide the community an opportunity to talk to their neighbors and pursue it through a petition process if for some reason it's not meeting the engineering requirements. But I think that's just kind of my thoughts on it.
I would add that going into this, I had a concern with removing the left turn lane. To think is, even if with the minimal number of counts, it only takes you being behind that one car who first of all, doesn't even know if they can make a left, so they're kind of going slow, and then there's that little space maybe they can eke over into, but they don't really know how to do that, and it's just going to be a mess. And if it's just one car waiting, and I could see it, Barrel's very busy, so at certain times it's going to be worse. But then we come back, or we're reminded that, yeah, this is the one four-way intersection on that whole stretch of Barrel from the top of the hill at the school all the way to Harbor Drive.
Yeah.
And I think for the sake of safety and consistency, it's the inconsistency of the one block that it makes it problematic potentially. And so I'd be open to a motion of a four-way stop at this location, period.
Actually, I think to my knowledge, Irina, the block above, also does not have a four-way stop.
Not Irina, but.
Does now? Oh, they just put it in.
Actually, Barrel.
You need to call that.
They didn't do anything there because they said.
Because that would slow traffic down. If it didn't have a stop sign, obviously, people would be flying, obviously.
There's stop signs all the way from where Pearl Street School is, all the way down to the ocean. It's Guadalupe.
We need a point of order.
Yeah.
So actually, there isn't a stop sign at Barrel and Paulina. I think that's another intersection that doesn't have the always stop. You know, I wasn't here when those other stop signs were approved, but I know that, you know, some of those locations may or may not meet those engineering analysis. They might have been approved after the fact.
Yeah. Or through a council.
Yeah, through council direction. And so this treatment here is trying out a way to do that without, you know, having to install a stop sign.
Okay, so.
Well, I would say then as an alternative, I mean, certainly we studied this proposal coming into tonight's meeting, and the only issue I had with a marked crosswalk not being the four-way stop was, again, as much as I totally understand the island in the middle of the intersection makes it super safe for the kids who don't get all the way across the street, and or the car coming the opposite direction of where they took off from doesn't see them until they're on the island. Still, I think the greater conflict, I mean, it's kind of the lesser of two evils, if you will. The lesser conflict, or the greater conflict, I think, would be a car stopped waiting to be able to make a left and cars behind them. Yeah. So if we go with the marked crosswalk enhanced as presented, that would be the only thing I would ask to be omitted, or that we would consider it in our deliberation.
Yeah, I wouldn't be for the modular island. I think it's going to have an issue with the left turn as well, especially if you put in that extended curb with cars parked there. You really don't have much room to wiggle out if you had a car waiting behind on the left turn.
I will say that, you know, if we don't have these types of enhancements, I would be very cautious about putting any type of crosswalk here. It's actually a luxury that we have the space in the middle that we can actually put this this type of crosswalk in. If the street were any wider, if there wasn't this space in the middle, you know, we would go straight to, you know, a full signal, flashing lights, or something different. And so I think as we peel back these pieces, it makes me, you know, very cautious about putting, you know, or calling this an enhanced.
Would solve the problem.
Correct.
But that brings back the question of that. Can we?
You need a call order, yeah.
That brings back the question of, you know, does this location qualify for an always stop because Barrel is a collector and much wider and busier than Guadalupe? One of the issues that we see at most of our always stop intersections is just very low compliance because a driver on the more major street was was like, why do I need to stop for this tiny little street that has almost no traffic? And so that's where we start getting all the complaints of nobody stopping at the stop signs.
Yes.
I understand how important the safety is here, but why are we moving away from like a feasibility study to actually see what we're working with, the flow of traffic, et cetera?
I think because we already studied the stop sign just 2 years ago, and those conclusions wouldn't change. It's just like the stop signs that were proposed along Diamond. You know, there's some structural reasons why I think from an engineering perspective, we wouldn't recommend a stop between a bigger street like a Collector versus a local street like a local residential street.
And I have a question. So you're saying, you mentioned the city of LA that they're moving away from these. What are they going towards? And have we looked into some of those options, forward thinking?
So in the city of Los Angeles, when they directed us, the Department of Transportation, their city council actually gave us a direction that any uncontrolled marked crosswalk in the city had to be enhanced. We had to be enhanced with either a stop control or a pedestrian hybrid beacon or some other enhanced form of control. We're really, in the city of Los Angeles at least, we're really going away from uncontrolled marked crosswalks. I know many of us up here have heard the term, and Ryan obviously is very familiar with the term of that false sense of security that sometimes a marked crosswalk can provide, where, somebody mentioned like they see kids darting across the street. I'd actually rather have someone who's very, extra observant and cautious and taking that extra time and dart across the street than someone, looking both ways and then, putting their head back in their phone or whatever, thinking that, it's a heightened facility. So therefore, they might not be as cautious. So I still kind of have, some of those preconceived beliefs in my head from my professional background. And then, like I said, just the trend we're going towards in Los Angeles of moving away from uncontrolled crosswalks. So I would definitely want to see this go evaluated for a stop sign again. I know the guidelines have changed in the last few years. So, things that might have been authorized before, further north or east on the street, might not have qualified with today's guidelines, but there is an option for council direction or a petition process to, as an option for the community to work towards a stop sign. And I'd rather see a stop sign go here than a marked crosswalk alone, I'd prefer to see nothing versus nothing instead of a marked crosswalk.
My concern with just putting stop signs is the grade of the street. And because Beryl is at a slant, cars are going they're speeding even in between stop signs. I also think it's important to notate the cadence of each intersection. There's a stop sign. So it makes sense to me to recreate the cadence of every intersection. So I think that's really important. But I think a combination of the crosswalk and the stop signs would probably be, I think, a sufficient solution. The median, I understand what you're trying to do because the street is so wide. And what's concerning to me, and I actually am in favor of the median, and I understand, your concerns with the first responders going up, but the street is so large, and because people are going down so fast, I'm almost worried, I worry about people not being able to get across in time.
Other comments, thoughts, questions? Do we have any sort of?
We could also look into the rectangular rapid flashing beacon as well. That's also one of the Commissioner Bajaj mentioned.
So what would our motion want to say here? Would you be directing?
I have a question. Would this intersection qualify? Is there a light there right now?
It probably would not qualify for a traffic light, a full traffic signal, and nor do we have the funds to do that.
I feel like the traffic light would accommodate the left-hand turn.
But just like how, this intersection may not meet warrants to put a stop sign, it most definitely wouldn't meet warrants for a full traffic signal because we would need sufficient volume demand on Guadalupe to make that happen.
I do want to notate the traffic light that's at Beryl and Maria is I mean, I do valet there every day. Nobody stops because there's so many stop signs. People assume that that's going to be a stop sign. So they just like slow down and they just blow it. Like a million cars blow it every day because everything else is a stop sign. So they're not prepared for the light. So I just feel like there's something to that.
So we need to increase some enforcement in
I
that
mean-
area, probably.
What are the
That's a whole other conversation, but I'm just saying, I think
Right
it's
on the
important to
cor-
be
yeah.
consistent.
The light
That's
that's
why-
right on the corner by
Yeah,
the.
yeah, it's
kindergarten.
basically irrelevant because there's all stop signs in between.
So
What did the residents' survey show in 2022? Was it, it didn't pass the threshold?
It was very low, like 20%, 30%.
And they were against, or there were a lot of just, people that ignored it?
Ignored it. And that's typical for a lot of our stop signs. I believe when Al sent out was sometime around 2022, I think at that point we may have offered the QR code response. I'm not exactly certain.
I don't think it was that far back when we provided some suggestions on how to modify the engagement component.
That's newer.
Yeah.
So
I would like to see it go for another round of a stop sign study.
I agree.
We should direct the staff, the motion would then would be to direct the staff.
Well, I think you already had a motion on the table, right?
Well, I said I would suggest a motion
Oh.
that said that.
I think so.
Hmm.
What would your motion be?
I would like to make a motion that a stop sign study be conducted again, and, the entire component with, now it sounds like you have some very engaged community partners now, so maybe we can use that partnership and, get some additional outreach to the neighbors, but conduct a follow-up stop sign study, take this back to city council to look at a stop sign alternative before we visit an uncontrolled marked crosswalk.
I second that. I second that motion.
Lauren, I have a question for you. Do you think we come back to commission or we go straight to council with the stop sign study? What would our process be?
It probably needs to come back here, I would think,
Yeah.
first. I mean, it'll be dependent on the results of the study as well. So.
That doesn't.
Is that okay with you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect.
All right, we got a motion in a second.
Okay, motion and a second?
Sorry, who was the second? Is that Commissioner Staff? Okay.
It was a
thank you.
toss-up.
All right. Commissioner Arata?
Aye.
Commissioner Bajaj?
Yes.
Commissioner Funabashi?
Aye.
Commissioner Nafisi?
Aye.
Commissioner Beely?
Aye.
Commissioner Sao?
Aye.
Chair Simpson?
Aye.
Okay.
Motion carries. Okay, what do we got here? I guess we're now,
When I get down to.
I don't even take Berlin.
Oh, I think.
time for item K, referrals to staff.
I do have one.
Yes, go ahead.
I have an address on Irina, and I'm going to find it, where the roots, it's 1438 South Irina. The roots of the tree are problematic. They're growing like 6 or 7 inches out of the, I don't know if you know about this. Do you know about this? Oh, okay.
He's the forest of the
I don't know if you can give me
You picked a good day to attend this meeting.
He knows
I
all.
knew it.
He knows all.
Oh, yeah, here's
200,000 trees, he knows them all.
1438 South Irina.
1438
South Irina, yeah.
Irina.
The roots of the tree are problematic. We've got some people tripping on the sidewalk because of it.
So in most cases like that, we go out there, we take a look at the tree, we try to save the tree. We want to make sure that we're saving our trees in our urban forest. I'm speaking as a deputy director. We introduced Mark earlier. On the sidewalks, we will take a look at it. If it's something that we can remedy by saving the tree and maybe ramping the sidewalk for a while or bridging the sidewalk. We are going to be getting started on our sidewalk assessment replacement in areas like this. We'll take a look at this tomorrow.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay.
Other referrals to staff?
No referral, but I want to acknowledge that this is Commissioner Funabashi's last meeting with us. So after 8 years of being on the commission,
Nine and a half.
9.5, so this is his last time,
Full
so.
terms and a
You know.
partial.
So sad.
I've
You're
always
gonna move
enjoyed
to another
sitting next to
commission or
him.
no?
No, I was another commission prior. I've been a commissioner for the city for 15 years.
We've served on the historical commission
And
together too,
historical
right?
since like '07, so.
And the GPAC.
My direction to
Yeah,
staff is
GPAC.
keep up the good work.
Yeah, we'll miss you here. I mean,
Yes,
you know.
Serving with you.
Also, always offer good insight.
Yeah,
Always
absolutely.
offer good insight.
Other comments, referrals to staff or anything from
I don't know
anybody
if
else?
I gave you a shout out for the crosswalk at Delamo, and
Paulina?
it's getting rave reviews. And no one's calling me about my son crossing illegally, so I really appreciate that.
Over by the high school.
I had a question about that, though. So that sign right in the middle of the.
He got hit
street,
twice.
Did it got hit? Yeah, I wanted to know how many times it got hit, because
It got hit?
I keep seeing it disappear after a few weeks, so.
It got hit on day
Llama.
2, and it got hit on like day 4.
So now you put those little
Yes,
round
so
humps
we
on it.
moved the sign back 2 feet and we added some yellow domes with reflectors on it to prevent it from being hit. So far, it's been 1 week and it's been okay.
I'd like to give Ryan a shout out too. I mean, I email him sometimes and just, you know, he's been so on it, and I think he's picked it up really quick, and he's really, you know, filling that gap where, you know, Ted leaving and, you know, Gene leaving. So good job, Ryan. Thank you.
Thank you.
And, you know, I also, I saw the new marked crosswalks with the black contrast at Torrance and Prospect. Looks really great.
That's our first one.
Yeah, it looks really great. I pointed it out to my kids as we were driving through.
Yeah, we borrowed that from Santa Monica.
Yeah. If you look, it's a
Makes
concrete
you want to just
street.
get out and just
Yeah,
walk.
it's a concrete street, and so, you know, the white crosswalks sometimes don't, the contrast isn't there, so they put black background in between each one of the white bars. It looks really good. Yeah.
Any other comments, referrals to staff? Well, I guess we need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
And is there a
I'll
second?
second that.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
All right.
And I guess we're adjourning until whatever the next,